Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. And welcome, everybody, to my Independence Report for Thursday, I do believe it is, and then the 19th of August. I can't believe how fast time is going. It's just amazing to me. And we have Allyson Roberts with us today, and she is a transformational coach, an intuitive transformational coach, and we're going to be talking to her for the entire hour. Allyson, how are you?
I'm great. I'm in the middle of a horrific storm right now, but I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you, by the way?
I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, Atlanta's famous for those.
Yes.
I've always wondered, because I've spent some time in Arkansas, and I have always wondered, how do you people sleep at night when there's a huge thunderstorm going by? Because I always am scared that there's going to be like a tornado along with it.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't deep sleep when there's like tornado warnings or watches out, because they do happen a lot here in Georgia. They do. And so, if we get a warning through Alexa or, whatever, because she's really good about saying, hey, guess what? There's a tornado coming. So it's like, oh, okay, we'll all pile in the laundry room. And now she's talking to me because I said her name. Alexa, talk.
Well, for those that don't live in the South or in the tornado alley, I have to paint a picture for you, because when you're watching TV, in the lower corner of your screen are different counties in your area or surrounding your area, and they will go from green to yellow to red to flashing red to get the hell into the basement right now kind of red, and that kind of stuff. So it's fascinating. I was in a hotel room and I didn't know what county I was in, and it said, if you're in this county, go. And I was on the third floor. It was like, oh, good, this is great, So, but what do you do? And you live where you live, and Atlanta, Georgia is famous for having some really hellacious thunderstorms.
Yeah, and thank goodness. I mean, I've only encountered one tornado, but it literally ripped houses off the foundation in our neighborhood.
Oh, I tell you, I saw in Arkansas when I was there the aftermath of one, and it was like what is it, a 3 or a 4? And so it was wide, and it was and there was nothing left in the scope of that. There was absolutely nothing left. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about you. So we want to do that. So we're gonna start off with, you've got a very special thing coming up starting next week, and let's lay that out, and then we'll talk about that several times during the course of the show, so that if you are interested in doing that with her, you'll get all the information. So what are you doing on starting Monday?
Yeah, so a couple of times a year I hold a free week-long webinar. It's called Painless Pivots to Power.
Be still my foolish heart. Did you say free?
I did.
That's a pretty good price right there.
It is, especially because it's 7 days. It's an hour each day, but we just take a deep dive into this deliciousness of solving our problems. So if you are like in a situation in your life right now where you're like, I'm stuck, it's COVID, or it's a divorce, or it's like whatever your outside circumstances, you need to get inside Painless Pivots to Power. And I'm going to teach you how to have an amazing solution to whatever is happening in your life right now.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to have to take that class, I think, if I've got the time, because I tell you, since the last time we've talked, I have to I'll let you know my mother passed away.
Oh,
Um, and,
Kevin.
and it was a very sudden overnight. She was playing bridge on Thursday, and on Saturday she was in heaven. And so it was very tough, but just the circumstances. I know I don't know if you've lost a parent or not.
In April, I did lose
Oh,
my father.
yeah, and it is really hard when you're working with the siblings, and you're trying to figure out the house, and you're trying to figure out the finances and all that stuff. It can be a very trying time for everybody.
Yeah, it always it always amazes me that death does that to people. So I have a biological father that I lost in April, but then there's my dad. Like my dad is my dad who adopted me from birth and was really, the father figure in my life. And he passed away from liver cancer in 2017. And I mean, talk about drama. I mean, I stepped way back from it. And you know me enough now, Kevin, to know that that's a true story that I just said, that I stepped way back from it. But man, I mean, I mean, if my stepmother's watching this, no offense, but you are not nice to me. But she's not a nice person, but she did not deserve how my other siblings treated her. It was really bad. I'm just like, wow, guys.
It
Wow.
is. It truly is amazing how people, especially if there's a little bit of money involved, how people change, and it becomes, they didn't have they didn't have the money yesterday, and
Right.
so it was different, and then they have the potential of having this small windfall or large windfall, and if you got a bunch of siblings, then it's like, how much do you get and how much do I get, and all that. People get really, really bizarre in those moments.
They do. They get crazy. And I think, from a mindset perspective, um, there's a lot of stuff going on there, you know, and when my dad died, um, I had to sit down and start doing my science, which is thought models, to try and just cope and deal with what was happening with not only losing him, but the drama before I lost him, and then the drama that ensued immediately after his death, and then for a couple of months, after that. It just, and it, here's the thing, it's not the money, it's the people.
You are correct, my dear. It is the people.
It's never
And
about the money, ever. I don't care if it's a lottery, it's not about the money. If it's a huge promotion, it's not about the money. It's never about the money. I'm going to pop a LaCroix here, so you're going to hear this nice little,
having a beer, are you?
no, it's a sparkling water, I promise. I'm going to do a little plug for LaCroix, even though they should be sponsoring me, but they're not, but they should be.
Yes, they should, doggone it. Yeah, because it's interesting and I'm sure that people come to you because it can be discombobulating, if that's even a word, to have all of the things change, and that person that you used to talk to is no longer there, and if you don't have a good sense of who they were, or who they are around you, you can feel lost, and going through the stages of grief. It can be really, really hard for people to figure out all the things that they need to be doing, and to go through all of that, and then they take it out on the people that are around them at times.
They do. And, the thing about it is that we're going to die.
No.
And people don't want to think about that. So they don't plan for their death.
Right.
And so, like, my daughter knows exactly everything, because one day I am not going to be here anymore. And I'm only 56, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to die. And so the load of cow manure that we leave for people to have to figure out because we don't plan for our own death, I think it's really unfair.
It is, because you're the only one who really knows where all the bones are buried and where all the money is and all the accounts that you have and all of that. Plus the fact that a lot of people, now my mom was 90 and she was convinced she was going to live to be 102. And she was absolutely, this is what I'm going to live to be 102. Well, she went to bed Friday night and friends came over on Saturday morning and found her. So it can happen so suddenly that if you're not prepared for it and you're not working to understand what you should do so that people don't have to do it, and you can make it easier for them, as an example, where are the accounts, where, and then downsize. A lot of people will refuse to downsize when they're older. They don't need all the stuff that they have, but they keep it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, my dad, the one that passed away in 2017. I mean, he had prostate cancer, and he was in his 80s. So, I mean, and it was pretty advanced when they found it. And the doctor was just like, I'm probably going to be able to buy you a couple of years. I mean, at the most, I'm going to be able to buy, because he was diabetic and he had high blood pressure, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. So he started giving us his stuff. He's just like, I mean, I have his ukulele right here on the wall, and I have some other things. I mean, he didn't have a lot, but he's just like, I want to make sure that you get my ukulele. I want to make sure that you over here get my fishing lures and things like that. Because first of all, he wanted to see the joy that we experienced when he actually gave us this stuff. But also too, I mean, my siblings like raided his house with my stepmother still living there.
Oh my God.
It was horrible.
Oh my God. That's not even funny.
No, it's horrible.
It really is. And I've taken the stance that a lot of people won't take, and that is this. Tell me if you agree with me or disagree with me. There's going to be a little bit of money, not a great deal, but a little bit. But there's enough for me, because my father passed 15 years ago, and he's the one that amassed all whatever money that they have left. He's the one that did that. So before I die, I want to give a gift to my children from my father, so that they can have something, regardless of what happens to me and the money that I'm going to need for the rest of my life. I wanted them to have that. And some people are saying, you're nuts. That's crazy. What do you think? Am I nuts? Is that crazy? Or should we not honor the people that are here living and honor the people that have passed by giving them something as well?
I personally do not believe in inheritances after people are dead. I think the money should be given while children are alive.
I agree.
And then when you've died, then that money, obviously, it's going to go to your survivors, or however you've allocated it. But first of all, the mindset of we have to wait until Christmas to get the bike. We have to wait until our birthday to get the $10. We have to wait till dad dies before I can buy a house. We have to wait till Santa Claus comes. It's just, we live in this society of we can't have it right now. You can't have it right now. It's not possible. You're going to have to wait. And so then what happens is we're always waiting for everything. We're waiting for true love. We're waiting for, we're waiting to win the lottery. We're waiting for the promotion. We're waiting to be happy and prosperous until later. That's going to happen down the road. Well, what a tragedy. I mean, It's first of all, it's years wasted, and secondly, you know, I mean, one of my friends kept telling me years ago, like, I'm gonna, when my dad dies, I'm gonna be wealthy. I'm like, why in the hell do you want to wait 55 or 60 years to be wealthy? That makes absolutely zero sense to me. When you're going to be too old then to even enjoy having the amount of wealth that she was talking about. I'm like, you're going to be in a wheelchair on vacation. Like, build your wealth now. So she actually went to her dad. And I was so proud of her. She went to her dad, who was just, you know, and she was like, Dad, I have this business idea. And she had made a PowerPoint. She walked him through the whole thing, and he was like, thank God. Because he had like 7 kids. He's like, I've been waiting for one of you to come to me so I can help you get wealthy. And that's exactly what he did. She is like dripping in the money. And I wasn't the only one. That's not because of me. They're all of it. Dozens of us were saying, you have this amazing business idea. Why would you wait? Go to your dad. So it's not just an Allyson story. But she did. She went to him and she was like, I need $500,000 from you. I need this. I need that. And he did it. And she is just doing really, really well for herself.
Oh, that's a great story. That's a great, because I had one time my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my wife and I were sitting around and we were talking about her parents. And it was like, he worked for Boeing. He's got lots of money. He's going to have it here. And then we're going to have, when they pass away, we're going to have all this money and we're going to have all this stuff. Well, as it turned out, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law died before the parents did. So we were spending that time anticipating something that wasn't even going to happen and wasting the time, wasting the breath, instead of living our own lives and doing everything that we needed to do to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it makes it very tough. Let's talk about you. And if you're just tuning in, what starts on Monday again?
It is called Painless Pivots to Power. How's that for a title?
I love that.
Pivots to Power. I run it a couple of times a year. It's free. It's Monday.
Free. That's good. Yep, that's good.
It's Monday through Sunday. Monday through Friday, we meet at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturday and Sunday will vary because those are bonus days, and I'll let you know the times when we get there. But Monday through Friday, they are going to be learning some mindset tricks and tools and skills to finally change the thing that they've been trying to change, that they haven't been able to change. Our brain hates change, Kevin. Hates it.
It does.
We got to be the boss of our brain in order to make a big change. We have to be. So if they go to my website, AllysonRoberts.com, they can sign up for the webinar on my website.
Why do our brains hate change?
Ooh, how much time do you have?
We got time. We got time.
So our brain hates change because it has our reptilian brain, this primitive brain back here, has 3 jobs: to keep us alive, avoid pain, and seek pleasure. So if it senses any sensation from our bodies, be it good or bad, that's different from the normal sensation that our primitive brain is used to us feeling, it won't let us feel that feeling for very long.
Oh, if it's a good thing, why would it stop us?
Because it's different.
So they like steady as we go, and controlled, and this is just the way it is. And when you deviate from that, either if you have pain or if you have pleasure or if you find love or stuff, and is that why sometimes people don't don't allow themselves to love thoroughly and to care for other people because
Oh,
they're
100%.
that's crazy. That's
Well, you say it's crazy, but if you grow up with two well-meaning parents, it doesn't even have to be trauma. And this is where people get really um, stuck on this, because a lot of people think they can do anything that they want, so long as there wasn't any trauma in their childhood, and then they start feeling like really ashamed and guilty because they think that they should be further along because there wasn't any trauma in their childhood. Well, you can have two well-meaning parents, and let's just say dad comes home every day and, oh man, when he walks in the door, he's so tired, so tired. So he's emotionally unavailable. And then mom has 5 kids, and she, she's happy all the time, maybe. But she's making biscuits all the time and doing laundry. And so you're like, hey mom. And she's like, baby, I'll get with you in a minute. I love you so much. I love you so much. So neither parent is spending quality time loving and getting to know and having a close, intimate relationship with their child. They're just raising them and doing the best they can. Well, then, so you grow up and you're in your 20s or 30s, and you meet someone and they're like, so, here I am. I'm ready to love you. Like, I want to love you deeply and truly. And you're like,
I'm not used to this.
and the reptilian brain is like, boop, boop, red alert, red alert, red alert. Yeah.
So I got a question for you, and this is something that I think is more rampant in our society than we give it credit, and that is that. Well, see, my mom grew up. Her father was German, and so he was distant by nature. The German people tended not to be kind, loving, and supportive. They are can be, at least in this case, he was a difficult guy to to love and to get around, and he didn't, I don't think he ever said I love you to her or any of that. And so that becomes a generational thing because
Yeah.
she then doesn't have any idea, because she hasn't had an example of it, what love is or how to give it, or how do you in your coaching practice teach people to be more loving and caring so that they can live their lives more fully? Because my mom ended up not living the life that she would have liked to have lived because she didn't know how.
Yeah, it's really sad. That's really sad. So love is a result of my coaching program. It's a result of it, because what happens is that you start to learn how the brain works. And the way that the brain works is that a circumstance happens, and then we have a thought about it. We actually have hundreds of thoughts about it. And then we have a feeling about it, many feelings about it. But we act on the dominant one that keeps us safe, keeps us alive, seeks pleasure, unless we make a cognitive decision to make a conscious decision about the circumstance. Otherwise, we're just knee-jerk reacting in the primitive brain all the time. And that's why people get the same result over and over and over and over and over and over. And they're like, but I stopped eating bologna sandwiches, 4 days ago. So, so the way that love becomes a result of it is that the more cognitive and conscious you are, the more you start to see, like, man, I, I I'm not even the person that I thought I was. Like, I'm actually really this over here. Like, I actually really am compassionate. I actually really do care about people. I actually really do, enjoy birds and all this stuff, because you just become more yourself, more I hate to even say it right now because we're in a pandemic and this whole thing about masks, but you start to remove your emotional mask more and more and more and more and more. And then all of a sudden, as a result of that, you love yourself deeper and or for the first time. And as a result of that, then you are more authentically available for other people.
That makes perfect sense. Because if you don't love yourself, and if you've been told that you're not lovable, it's impossible for you to love somebody else. Is that true?
Yep.
That's so you help people understand themselves and from their core love themselves for who they are,
Yeah.
and that opens up the floodgates to allow them to love other people.
Yeah. And you know, when I say love who you are, I'm not talking about like what you look like, the house you live in. I'm talking about loving, you know, all of it. Like loving the fact that, you know, you failed miserably, loving the fact that you messed up in love, you know, like you have to really truly like love yourself deeply, like knowing that you didn't know any better and going back and like loving that person who didn't truly know any better, and accepting that person and bringing them fully into your now experience so that you don't walk around with secrets and shame and guilt and all the things.
And so there's got to be a measure of self-forgiveness.
Yes, which is a decision, not a feeling.
Ooh, hadn't thought of that.
If you wait to feel it, you'll never do it.
Yeah. If it's, but self-forgiveness, isn't that part of the whole thing? And also the understanding that the experiences you have are something that you're destined to do, and that's part of who you are and part of your growth process. Is that true?
I don't know that we're destined to do them. I think it I think it's more if we don't do our work, um, you know, bad things are going to happen. I mean, I'm talking about bad as in we're going to make a decision from a place of panic or fear or desperation instead of from a place of calm and love and understanding and groundedness and all those things. So if you keep making decisions based on fear, desperation, you know, just love me, somebody somewhere, you know, bad things are going to happen. You're going to end up with some horrible people who are going to take horrible advantage of you. Um, and I don't think that anyone is destined for that, but that is just how it's a ripple effect of the decisions that we make.
That's very interesting. That's because the decisions we make, we think we're doing the right thing, but it's the same thing dating the same guy in a different suit. If you like a particular type of person and you keep going after that and expecting a different result, you get the same thing over and over again without even knowing that you're doing it.
Exactly. And I've had a lot of deep conversations with both men and women about this. You know, why in the hell do I keep ending up with like, you know, the first guy took $10, the second guy took 10 million. You know, the first lady, you know, uh, ate me out of house and home. The second lady ate me out of the house and home and the vacation home, you know, and she stole my cat. You know, why do these people, what is happening? You know, and what happens is that when we make, and I hope that whoever's listening to this, like, really gets this because this is like, people pay me a lot of money to hear what I'm about to say. When we make a bad decision, it reinforces the neurotransmitter in our brain. And the neurotransmitter is subconscious to conscious brain. So when we do that, we build evidence for that decision.
Oh, that can be bad.
Right. And so if we had any kind of pleasure from that painful relationship, like the sex was good, or, well, at least he had a lot of money, or, well, at least, I ended up with $50,000 in my bank account. If we derived any kind of significant pleasure from that relationship, the brain has this weird way of making up a story of like, here's John. John behaves this way, therefore I'm going to get something out of this relationship. And we do it over and over and over and over until we don't anymore.
But sometimes the second one becomes worse than the first one, and the third one becomes worse than the second one, and
Right.
you can get into big time trouble with an abuser or somebody like that if you go down that road and don't recognize why the relationships are not working.
Well, the relationships aren't working because of us.
But we don't want to admit that.
A lot of people don't want to admit it, but here's the thing. If you're one of those people who can't be alone, and you go from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship, what you're doing is you're building momentum for the energy that you're living in. And so it started out as this tiny little snowball, but you won't give yourself alone time to do cognitive behavioral techniques to be like, what was I thinking? How did that make me feel? What actions did I take in that relationship? What results do I get? No, people are just like, well, Kevin will make it better. John will make it better. Paul will make it better. Stephen will make it better. And so the snowball just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And then finally, when it gets to the bottom of the hill and it breaks in a million pieces, is when people find Allyson Roberts. We can do this.
Because they have just so you end up working with a lot of people that are hitting or have hit what they perceive as their bottom, that they can't go on the way it is. They've got to make a meaningful change. They can't do it by themselves, because it's really hard to look inside yourself and to come up with an appropriate answer because of the stories that have been out there that you're telling yourself for so many years that it's hard for you to it's hard for you to call bullshit on yourself.
I have coaches and I have a therapist. So they, because we can't see our own blind spots.
Right.
It's like you're driving the car forward. You want to make a change. This is a really good analogy. You want to make a change, but there's a car in your blind spot, right? So sometimes even with the mirrors, now they have those little sensors on the car. Boop, 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 don't change lanes. There's somebody back there. That's me. I'm the I'm the one that's like, no, wait, you haven't done enough work yet. Don't change lanes yet. You got to fix this first,
Oh, that's remarkable, because we all, and everybody that I talk to who is, by the way, Allyson has been recognized as one of the top 100 coaches in the world. And that's right there. You can go to her website, which is AllysonRoberts.com, and you can find out all about her and what she does and how she can help you realize, because everybody that I've talked to that is really gifted, people like you recognize that you can't do it all by yourself, and you have a coach. You have somebody that you can bounce things off of, because we all are in the middle of living life. And so it's great for you to have a coach and a therapist and those people that can support you.
Yeah. Football players have teams, baseball players have teams. We can't hit the ball and then run the bases without somebody else catching, somebody, we got to have other people on our team to cover everything. We can't, the people who walk through this life who, first of all, I won't date anyone who hasn't had a substantial amount of some therapy or coaching or something. Because if we're so arrogant to think like, I got it all worked out, I can do this. I'm like,
I'm tough. I'm tough. I can make it happen all by myself. No, you're right. And I wanted to ask you, what is it about us that we feel like we have to find somebody else to be with?
Well, I mean, this is changing, but most of us are born into a coupleship. And even if, mom and dad are throwing beer cans at each other and throwing F-bombs and just to use an extreme, right? Or the other extreme, how are you? We're always just fine. We're fine all the time. Whether you grow up in one extreme or the other.
You've met my mother-in-law, haven't you?
I have. She told me to tell you hello. We grow up in that, and most of us are born into a traditional coupleship scenario. And so this is how life is, it takes two, just because it takes two people, naturally anyway, to bring someone into the world doesn't mean that those two people should be together. But that's how traditionally it has been.
See, every time I talk to you, I get to have a therapy session. So I'll just continue with that theme because my former wife was that way. She came up in a family that if they had an argument, they would go to bed and then they would wake up and nobody ever talked about it ever again. They would never get into why did this happen? Why did that happen? And really dissect it to get into it. So consequently, when we got together and she came to my house, I'm a bit of a communicator. I like to find out what's going on and what's deeply going on with people so that we can fix it. And she would have none of it.
Right. Yeah, you can't fix what you don't know.
Exactly. But she would have none of it. It was like, I don't want to talk about it. But we have to talk about it. And she said, would you shut up? I'm not talking about that. And it's like, well, but we have to get it straight so we understand. I did the same thing with my kids. And there were multiple times when I would be having a discussion with my son and she would walk by the door and say, would you guys just shut up? Because she didn't want to talk about anything that wasn't prim, proper, and positive. But she wasn't willing to get deeper within herself. And that ultimately ended the marriage.
Yeah, I think it ultimately ends every relationship, whether you stay together or not. You can't. It kills me. Do you know what cavemen would give to have language? I mean, do you know what they would give in order to have words that you can put together where the other person understands like what you are saying? And yet we don't use our words.
No. And it makes it very difficult to have a great relationship with somebody when you can't talk about things at a deep level.
Right. So without arguing,
Yes. Yes. And throwing beer cans at each other, which it gives you a mental picture all in its own. But there are so many people that are not, they don't want to get into it deeply because they don't feel like I don't know. Why don't people want to get into it more deeply?
I think they're afraid of rejection. They're afraid the brain hates change. So it's like if we have this conversation and then, I have to change something drastic, that scares me. So I'm we're fine. We're fine. Everything's fine.
Exactly. Now Allison, I've gotten to know you a little bit over time, and your story is nothing short of remarkable of what you did. You're a beautiful lady.
Thank you.
I think you're lying to me when you tell me you're 56. I think that's
Yeah. 56.
because you look like you're 30,
Oh,
and so that means you're going to live to be 120, and so.
I don't know.
So I would recommend that anybody go talk to her. And the best way to do that is to go to AllisonRoberts.com, and she's going to have a seminar starting on Monday. And I highly recommend that you sign up for it because number one, it's free. Number two, it's effective, and it can lead you into a whole different realm of who you are versus who you think you are.
And it's fun. We have
Yeah.
fun. You know, I'm a big believer that, when you're having fun and you're laughing and all that, you remember stuff. So, like I was teaching one of my coaching classes the other night because I have group coaching programs. And I was talking about how we all say that we lost our virginity. Like, lose it. It's not on a milk carton. You know? Kevin's virginity has been missing since 1987. Last seen wearing boxers, last vacation, Susie's father's basement. If you happen to see it, think, I mean, we don't lose our virginity. It's like, oh my God, when are we going to start taking radical responsibility for our decisions?
Oh, exactly. That is so funny. Because you're
So
right.
remember that. You're going to remember that now for the rest of your life.
Exactly. I've lost my virginity and I can't find it anywhere.
It's on a milk carton in the grocery store. It's posted. If you see it, please call.
Well, and the other thing that is that I don't like about our culture is that girls lose their virginity, guys sow their wild oats. So for guys, they're in constant pursuit of losing their or of sowing their wild oats, and the girls are feeling there's a negative connotation with all of that.
Yeah, to all of it. Why do you have to be wild?
Because we're guys and we're that's the men sort of thing is to be tough and wild and scratch ourselves and do all sorts of stuff.
Right. And we're supposed to have flowers in our hair and stay
Yep.
virgins until we die, basically.
Oh, exactly. And there it's interesting that there are some. I have to tell you a quick story if I can. Um, I went to a party, and this is a group of a particular religious group that got together for a barbecue, and it reminded me of going back to the '60s because the women, the guys were there, and they were talking back and forth, and they were saying what their business is doing and how good they are, and the guy had a gun on him, and they're tough and all this.
Barbecue.
It had a barbecue, yes, with people he
You
knew.
never know what might show up at the bar. So you have to have a gun at the barbecue. Like, you never know
Exactly.
what's going to happen.
So the guys are doing that, and the women are opening the Tupperware for the barbecue and stuff, and they're putting everything on, and then they go sit at the picnic table. So it turns out that all the women are sitting at the picnic table, and all the men are standing over here in a group, and it's like that seems like a waste of money and time because why can't you all get along? But the women felt subservient to the men because that was part of the religious teachings that they'd been part of, and it was like that's that. So that reminded me of the '60s.
I'm going to go so far as to say that I don't think that's just a religious thing. I think that we, in our mindset, men are meat. We're going to grill the meat, and women are like flowers and potato salad.
That's exactly what that was like.
Right. And then if we grab a beer and we're the one that goes and hangs out with the guys at the grill to shoot the shit or whatever, then we're a whore. So it's like, you just can't, it's so, the mindset is so, I mean, like I've literally, honestly, I've honestly thought about writing a book um, called The Mindset of Mating, because it's so, our current mindset is, it is so primitive.
It really. I hope you do write that book. I think it would be very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I might as well just add it to the list of the books that are coming out, right?
Oh, exactly. Well, you're gonna have lots and lots, lots and lots of books, and you're such a pleasure to talk to, and you've lived life, and you've had lots of experiences in life. Some of them have been not so positive, so you understand a lot of this stuff, and you're able to work through it. I haven't. I'm not sure that I've asked you yet because if you want to go back, by the way, Allyson Roberts has done several podcasts with me. If you'd like to go back and review the history of what she went through, there are other podcasts you can do that. I don't want to take the time today. But what I do want to take the time to ask you is that after all of that stuff, there was a point in time when you said, Phooey, enough of that. I'm going to change everything and I'm going to become who I truly wish to be. When was that?
I think that's a process. I think I'm always becoming who I truly am because I'm always changing. Does that make sense?
Yep. Well,
So,
it's because you're always working on yourself and you're always
yeah.
opening up to what's happening and delving inside of yourself for your feelings and what's going on with it.
I mean, I think the very first time that I took a stand for myself, and really um, made a decision that was just Allyson. It wasn't anyone else. Even though other people would probably take credit for this,
Of
but
course.
I was 20 years old, and that's when I placed my son for adoption. Um, and I did that for him, um, but also for me, because I had people telling me, that I should live in a housing project, and you know, um, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to make that crystal clear that it's not a judgment. It's just that I had the ability to place him in a situation where he would have more opportunity than what was going to be provided if he had stayed with me and I had lived in the system. Um, so that decision sort of catapulted me to earn the respect of some people around me, who would always try to tell me what to do, hold me down, um, you know, basically mentally and emotionally torture me for not going their path, for not listening and following them. And so I think, Kevin, that step when I was just like, I'm choosing this route for myself and this path for myself, and there's really not a damn thing that you can do about it. And I'm choosing this for my son. That was a big turning point in my life.
And knowing your situation at that time, you were homeless, you were 20 years old, hadn't finished school yet. And so the life that you could provide him, I tend to think that's actually the highest form of love is to be able to give somebody a better life than what you could do for them. And
Yeah,
I
and we are reunited, and he would tell you the same thing.
well, his
He's
first couple of
very,
years.
yeah, he's very grateful. I mean, because he was born with a physical handicap, and has had to have multiple surgeries and physical therapy and all kinds of things. And I was living in my car.
Right.
So it's
A
like,
Volkswagen Bug, as a matter of fact.
yeah. So, you know, it's, um, and some people are like, well, you didn't have a choice. I had lots of choices. I could have, especially at that time, because we were not so micromanaged by government agencies. Um, you know, I could have had him in my car. Um, I could have I could have built a life for us in a tent city somewhere. I could have, I mean, people are like, well, you didn't have it. I had lots of choices. I had a multitude of choices, you know, around me. My dad, who I love, Dad, I love you so much, but he was a mess during that time. He was an alcoholic, and he was, you know, just not emotionally present or available. But he was offering me to live with him. My abusive mother was offering me to live with her, but no, I wasn't going to repeat those patterns for my son. That just not, I mean, it was an option, but it wasn't an option for me. And so when I broke those chains of abuse at 20 years old and was like, you no longer get to abuse me. You no longer have any control over my life at all. And even after I placed him for adoption, I drew a very hard line in the sand. It was like, you know, I accept this, but I don't accept that. I set boundaries for them. And even though they couldn't deal with the boundaries, I had set them, and I was living by the boundaries I had set. And I think that, you know, whether you're 20 or you're 60, that is a huge platform for success.
And ultimately, you have to. If you're going to achieve in your life what you choose to achieve, and by the way, just so everybody knows, and again, go back to listen to the prior podcast, but these are people that at one time changed the locks on their house so that you couldn't get into their house. And that forced you into the car, into the bug, and thank God there was an angel of a professor that was willing to step up and take care of you and stuff like that. But that's so you've seen it all, but you made that decision to stand on your own 2 feet, and from that point on, you were able to break the chains that were generational.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is which by the way, just real quick, because I'm going to wrap this up, but just out of curiosity, what are the good old boys in Georgia say about you down there? They're like, that woman is tough. I don't know about her.
They have a difficult time with me.
You know,
they do. I'm not quiet. I'm not subservient. I'm not, you know, I mean, I'm a sweet, good woman, but I'm not going to put up with your shit. And so they have a hard time with it.
that's because now my mama never talked like that, and never.
That's it.
So it's like, but I'm so proud of you. And by the way, Allyson Roberts is her name. Go to AllysonRoberts.com. She's got a class starting on Monday. It's free. Go there. You're going to spend an hour with her every day for 5 days. And what else are you going to do?
We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a great time. And you can hear about all kinds of stuff that I have going on. So come and just be a part of it.
And I would thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. You're just a joy to have around. You really are.
Thank you, Kevin. It was, I always love our time together. So thank you.
You are just awesome. So and again, go to AllysonRoberts.com, find out everything that you need to know about her, because she is one of the top 100 coaches in the world, and she's worth everything that she asks of you. And by the way, she doesn't just give you advice. She tells you what you have to do to work through the stuff that you've got to work through. And she expects you to do what she asked her to do, right?
I do. I mean, you're paying for it, so you might as well do it.
That's it. Allyson, is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
I just want to tell whoever is listening to us or watching us that they're worth the work.
Yeah. You know, that's a t-shirt.
It is a t-shirt.
You're worth the work.
Yeah, they are. They're worth it.
Yeah. And everybody is. And if you don't believe it, then you really need to go talk to Allyson.
For sure.
Because she can help you. She can help you live your life the way. And if you learn how to live your life in a positive, fun way, you have no idea how much fun you'll have.
Yeah.
Allyson, thank you so much for being on the show
You.
today. Okay, I got to do this. Stay right where you are. Be right back. Hey, and thanks for listening to this episode all the way to the end. Hey, pretty cool. Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other because each other's all we've got. See you next time on My Independence Report.